freaking game. I don't even know how I'm going to have a voice tomorrow. I'm screaming at my television, absolutely losing my gourd. First of all, like, just the first period was the best period by far. Flyers came out absolutely firing, looked really poised, looked in control, unflappable. Dan VLADAR looked sharp. You know, they were getting some scoring opportunities. Were controlling the puck a little more. Were taking chances when it was necessary. It was they looked, oh man, I'm knocking my microphone over. They looked together. They looked like they were playing just another hockey game, which is when you go into a big game situation, that's what you want to do. You want to go in as if this is just another game. And a lot of people have been talking about the fact that the lack of playoff experience, some people see it as a negative, but in a lot of cases, the lack of playoff experience is actually, I hesitate to say naive, but not thinking about that type of pressure, not understanding the weight of that pressure on you could actually be really helpful. And in this situation, it looks like it kind of was, at least in the first period. It looked like they were just loose. They were playing loose. And when I played, and just in general, when a team plays more loose, you let the skill take over. They've been practicing all year. They pushed really hard towards the end of the season. They let the skill take over, and that's when you are sharpest. These guys have put in 10,000 hours over their career. Now, maybe guys like Porter Martone, you know, maybe not quite 10,000 hours, but, you know, guys like SANHEIM, guys like Couturier, guys like DRYSDALE, guys who have been around a while and have just been preparing over the years for this type of situation. And man, I mean, what a playoff debut by Rasmus DRYSDALE, his first playoff game ever in 13 or whatever years in the NHL. How about friggin' Denver Barkey, a dog? Trevor Zegras had a pretty good game. Dan VLADAR, MVP. I mean, making just absolute 10-bell stops again. The dude is so razor sharp. And Porter Martone. Daniel Briere hit an absolute moonshot nuke home run with Porter Martone. This kid is the real deal. That play, I have a couple other notes I want to get to, but since I'm here, that play specifically walks in the zone. Literally, you can tell how poised he was at that moment. Walks in the zone, gets it to the dot, saw he had nothing, didn't just try and take an ill-advised shot that would rim the puck around the friggin' rink and just clear the zone. He cuts, curls back, takes a look, and just roofs it on Stuart Skinner. Stuart Skinner was in disbelief of the absolute laser beam that Porter Martone put him. Quick release, just picked the absolute corner where Mama hides the cookies, if we want to go there. An absolute sniper, Porter Martone. Steve Coates was on the WIP morning show. I guess it was the last week. The days are blending. And he said this team is loaded with snipers. Porter Martone is leading that charge. What an unbelievable shot from Porter Martone. I have some other notes I want to get to, but the first period was the most important period, I think. You get out strong. You show the Penguins in their building that you're not bleeping around. You're not there to mess around. And look, clearly Rick Tocchet had this team ready to go. He had them ready to go because they looked sharp. Now, second period, they come out, got a little bit shaky. They let the Penguins take over, and then of all people, Malkin scores. And then the Flyers were on their heels a little bit. They're running around. They looked a little bit scattered. They're trying to do a little too much. There were a couple instances where guys are, trying to keep, walk the blue line in the zone and mishandle it. And then it's basically a turnover at that point. There were some possessions where instead of just walking into the zone, they had a little bit of room. The Penguins defense was sagging back a little bit in the zone entry instead of just getting inside, curling back, setting up, keeping their eyes in the zone, looking for guys trailing, looking for the third guy high, maybe break into the net. They're just dumping the puck. And I understand that's kind of a Rick Tocchet holdover system, is dump and chase hockey. It seemed like they were starting to get away from it maybe a little bit towards the end of the season, that dump and chase idea where, because puck possession, especially in a tight checking game, in the Stanley Cup playoffs where the referees are going to let some stuff go, they called some borderline stuff tonight. It wasn't like a total parade to the box, but in a tight checking game in the Stanley Cup playoffs, puck possession is so key. You can't just give up the puck. Let me see how many turnovers the Flyers had today. You can't do that, because when you lose puck possession, a high offensive team like the Penguins will take advantage of that. Let's see how many takeaways. Okay, it wasn't, 11 giveaways for the Flyers. Now, if you look at the team stats, and I'm sure this will be updated, this is on ESPN right now, 11 giveaways for the Flyers to the 15 giveaways from the Penguins. Now, I attribute that to the better half of Rick Tocchet's system, where the Flyers are really poised in their defensive zone and great sticks in the lane. They get in lanes all season long. Their defense has been great in their own zone. They get in lanes, they take away shooting, they take away lanes, they take away passes. They're really good at that. So that translates to, active sticks translates to turnovers. That's probably why, and I noticed it a lot tonight. A lot of great active sticks from the Philadelphia Flyers tonight. So that translates to more turnovers. And I guess that would make sense where the Penguins had 15 turnovers to the Flyers 11. Now, I know they changed things, they changed stats, but that's an early observation. Another thing I had here, they need to slow things down. And that kind of comes with the puck possession too. If you're dumping, you're not necessarily slowing the game down. You're dumping, you're conceding, and in a lot of cases, they're not super aggressive on the forecheck, so they're dumping it, but in a lot of cases, like if Zegras just floats into the zone and dumps the puck, he doesn't have the body presence to go and get buried in the corner or bury someone in the corner, fight along, the boards for a puck battle. So that's where I think the Flyers, probably for Game 2, need to be a little more aware of their puck possession. That can be a total killer. If you're not possessing the puck, you're essentially turning it over, especially against a team like the Penguins, and especially in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that's another note I have. I'm kind of just going rapid fire here. The aggressive start was fabulous, and the hits. Now this looked like, now not vintage, not like 1970s hockey where you're hacking guys and pulling guys down and whatever. But it was playoff hockey. I mean, there were some big bodies, and I think I have two huge shout-outs for big bodies tonight. Two huge shout-outs for some huge bodies. Sean Couturier was laying guys out. Laying out the Penguins' skill players, which what you have to do in a series like this, in a bitter rivalry, and when you go into their building, you got to let that other team know you are not there to mess around. Sean Couturier, and it sucks too, he's the captain of the team, moved back to the fourth line about midway through the season, but man, has he assumed that role and played it well. His line matched up so well with Crosby's line tonight. And I'm sure, there were some other matchups and things that, but man, just getting bodies on it. Couturier was blowing it, and clean. And clean and when you need to do that. And Rick Tocchet talked about it. You know, we need the guys to be. He sat down with John Clark. It was earlier last week. He said we need to be aggressive, but the one point he made was, but I don't want guys running out of position to make a hit, because then you're out of position. Sean Couturier was making big hits in big moments at the right time. He was playing the body at the right time. That is leadership from your captain. Second guy, Owen Tippett, blowing dudes up tonight. Absolutely blowing dudes up tonight. Loved his physicality. He looked pretty sharp. Made a couple plays I was like scared of. But Owen Tippett, I think he had a fairly good game. I really do. I really do think he had a fairly good game. Man, is there another note I want to get to? Just an all around. Well, let's talk about the goalies. 17 shots for the Penguins, and that's let's before we go to the goalies for a second. 17 shots for the Pittsburgh Penguins. You held Crosby, Malkin, Brian Rust, friggin' Anthony Mantha. You held these guys to 17 shots. Again, another testament to the way this team plays for Rick Tocchet and within Rick Tocchet's system. They're just getting in lanes, not letting VLADAR get shots, but they're not getting in the way and it's bouncing off of them and whatever. Where shots are getting through and they're bouncing off the guys and redirecting. They're like cleanly blocking shots. I mean, it looked really, really sharp tonight. Dan VLADAR, outstanding performance late in the game when the Flyers almost gave up a third goal with 30 seconds left. VLADAR coming up with a couple enormous saves, a head save here and there, hugging the post. There were a few times, I think it was Malkin tried to sneak one real short side. VLADAR just had his shoulder up against the post. I had flashbacks to Michael Layton, but VLADAR absolutely erased that. VLADAR had a heck of a game. Stuart Skinner actually had a pretty good game, and I don't like Stuart Skinner. I think he's terrible, but he had a pretty good game. I saw somebody on Penguins Twitter. Stuart Skinner was one of the only guys that showed up tonight. The Flyers didn't have a ton of shots either, 20 shots on net. But Stuart Skinner, they had a few really good looks. Stuart Skinner made a couple big saves. Now, in a lot of chances, the Flyers were just shooting straight into Stuart Skinner's chest. It's not like he had to make unbelievable saves. But I think Stuart Skinner had an all right game. I will give him props. But man, this Flyers team, to go into that building, absolute dagger in the first game of the series, stunner. The Penguins crowd was silent by the end of the game. What a way to start the series. What a way to start the series. I don't even know what else to say. Guys were just Barkey with a motor. Had a quick little break there. Kind of got squeezed off a little bit. That's one thing the Penguins did pretty well. When the Flyers were getting looks, or if they had like a step on a guy, they were making sure to kind of just squeeze him to the outside enough where he didn't have a beautiful look at a shot. That was definitely evident on the Barkey attempt. Barkey had like a step and a half on the defender, and the defender just had enough time. Now, he muscled him. He used, Barkey's not the biggest dude in the world, but he used a lot of his muscle to get that shot off. And, it was a good play. The issue is the Penguins were kind of played decent defense in that way where they were making sure that the Flyers didn't get a ton of super, super great chances. Power play and penalty kill. At the beginning of this series, before the series even started, breaking it down a little bit, I said that the Flyers needed to keep this 5-on-5. They needed to keep this 5-on-5. They're a much better team 5-on-5. Even if they have a 5-on-4 advantage, they're not good. The power play was last ranked in the whole league. And we saw that tonight. Couldn't finish on the power play. But their penalty kill, which was very lowly ranked, towards the end of the season. The Penguins had 2 power play opportunities and no power play goals. So, that's good. That's good work. Good work. Just solid all-around defensive game from the Flyers. Good work. Whew. I need to, relax. I need to calm down. I think going back to, some earlier content I made, I think I posted it this morning, 3 huge things I needed to see from this team for the series. Goaltending matchup, we already got that. Both goalies looked fairly good. VLADAR had a better game. Fatigue. I thought maybe the Flyers would be a little burnt out. And honestly, in the second period, when the Penguins started really bringing it, the Flyers looked like they were scrambling a little bit. I thought they looked a little bit tired. So I'm going to keep an eye on that. But the leadership, I think, is key. Now, Konechny wasn't awful. Had a turnover or 2 that I thought was a little scary. Didn't pop. Didn't totally pop. And I said we needed to see leadership from Konechny. I said Couturier and SANHEIM. And both Couturier and SANHEIM. I mean, Couturier didn't contribute offensively. Let me see if he was credited with any assists. But, I mean, the story of no, he did not have any assists. The story of Couturier's game, what was the physicality? I mean, again, playing that role, just locking down that Crosby line. He looked really good. But SANHEIM, I mean, heck of a move at the point. I tweeted out, Travis SANHEIM is greater than Cale Makar. I mean, that was like a Cale Makar-esque move. Just dips the shoulder a little bit. Didn't really walk the line. That's Cale Makar's specialties. He'll drag it, walk the line, just rip one. But SANHEIM, nasty little move, walks in. Stuart Skinner hates angle change. That was the Jamie Drysdale goal. Jamie Drysdale had it, kind of deked a little bit, changed angles a little bit, quick little snapshot. When Stuart Skinner gets moving east to west, left to right, his 5-hole opens up. That's what happened on the Drysdale shot. He was not prepared for SANHEIM to just change the angle a little bit. SANHEIM beat him. I think it was outside, on the outside. It was either, I don't remember if it was glove side or blocker side, but just changing that angle. It seemed like, and on the flip side of that, on the flip side of leadership, how about Sidney Crosby at the end of the game? He is Charmin soft. Him and Malkin, their entire careers, Charmin soft. 4-ply Charmin soft. Absolute pigeons, those two. And they play for the Pigeons. What a joke. Malkin diving. Nick Seeler poked him. And he's falling down the ice, looking around at the refs, trying to draw a call. Give me a break. Sidney Crosby trying to get in. I don't remember whose head it was at the end of the game. Throwing punches. Are you kidding me? What a joke from the Penguins captain. What a joke. And all they talk about is the playoff experience. Crosby, he's in the Flyers' head. Yeah, right. Give me a break. Absolute joke. Sidney Crosby. Look, the second period and a lot of the third period, the Penguins came back. They stepped on the gas a little bit, made adjustments, and the Flyers were on their heels a little bit. But man, the young guys, Porter Martone, the new guys, Dan VLADAR, I mean, Porter Martone's a new guy too. It's an all-around good game. There are some things they got to clean up. Like I said, puck possession is going to be huge for the next game. Huge. You got to keep puck possession. But man, oh man. Flyers, we're underestimating, maybe you're not underestimating, but how big that is for the Flyers to go into Pittsburgh and take that game the way they did. The way they did. Get up first. Unfortunately, gave it back. But man, just getting up early and getting on them. I need to relax. I'm like sweating. I'm literally sweating. I don't even know if there's anything else I want to talk about. I mean, can we talk about that Porter Martone goal again? Are you kidding me? Are you joshing me? An absolute snipe from Porter Martone. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. Outrageous. Whew. I actually need to relax. I don't know how I'm going to sleep tonight. I genuinely don't know how to sleep tonight. How I'm going to sleep tonight. So the Flyers, 40 hits to 41 hits for the Penguins. Vintage hockey. Big bodies. Stayed fairly disciplined, mostly stayed out of the box. Blocked shots, 14-9 in favor of the Flyers. 5 takeaways, that speaks to the sticks and lanes. Awesome game. Awesome game to watch. Awesome game to experience. At least a split in if they don't win on Monday, at least a split in Pittsburgh. Going out to Pittsburgh and playing the way they did. Flyers mean business. Business. And I don't even think the Penguins took them lightly. I think the Flyers just, for stretches of the game and when they needed to, outplayed the Penguins. They just outplayed them. Not the whole game, but they outplayed them and had better goaltending. I can't wait for the rest of the series. Get me to Monday. The game just ended. I want game 2. And I'm producing the Phillies game during game 2. So probably a little bit less live reaction from me. Maybe, when I get home at 2 o'clock in the morning, I'll probably rewatch the game. I'll have it on in the studio, don't worry. I'll have it on at the WIP studios while I'm, watching a Phillies disaster, I'm sure. But I'll have it on. I'm just not going to be able to react in real time and probably not post-game. So I will have thoughts on game 2 at some point. But, wow. Thanks for sticking with us all season. Seriously. Vonnie and I have had an absolute joy. She couldn't make it on tonight, but we will talk to her very soon. It's been an absolute blast. And the Flyers today were wearing shirts that had a Bernie mask on it, Bernie Perrant mask, and on the sleeve it had 3.8%, because that was their chances to make the playoffs. That's, a couple weeks ago. And then they go out to Pittsburgh and just do that. Wow. W-O-W. Wow. Heck of a game. I need to drink some water. Thanks for sticking with us. Really appreciate you all. And we'll see you on the next episode of the Defend Philly podcast. Going to try and go live at some point one of these days. Try it out. Not right now. But, man, oh man. Let's go Flyers.